President Muhammadu Buhari has departed Abuja for London for a scheduled medical check, which is expected to last for about 2 weeks. The president, who initially planned embarking on the trip to London from Kenya, where he attended the United Nations Environmental Program, that's the 50th anniversary event, returned home last Friday. The president's official plane, Nigeria Air Force One, took off from the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. He was seen off at the airport by his Chief of Staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, the Minister of State for the Federal Capital Territory, Haji Aramatu Tijani Aliu, and the Director General of the Department of State Security, DSS, that's Yusuf Magaji Bichi.
I cannot claim to be doing the work alone. The government is fully represented. The Vice President is there. Constitutionally, when I'm away, he is in charge.
And President Muhammadu Buhari, before leaving, says his Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, will be in charge of the country during his medical trip to the United Kingdom. While addressing journalists before his departure at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, the president said he has capable hands to run the government in his absence. While the president had been criticized for refusing to formally transmit power to his deputy in line with Section 145, subsection 1 and 2 of the Constitution whenever he traveled to the UK for medical reasons. The section provides that whenever the president is proceeding on vacation or is otherwise unable to discharge his functions of his office, he shall transmit a written declaration to the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives to that effect. And until he transmits to them a written declaration to the contrary, the Vice President shall perform the functions of the President as an acting President. Well, can the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo act as President in the absence of President Muhammadu Buhari without the President transmitting a letter to that effect to the leadership of the National Assembly? Well, Arise News analyst Frank TieTie joins us now to analyze the issue. Frank, thank you so much for being here tonight.
My pleasure.
And of course, yes, the president, looking at that video at the airport, he says, I have capable hands. The Vice President is in charge. But at this moment, we don't know if he actually wrote to the National Assembly to actually convey the fact that he's away for about 2 weeks. But the question is, without a written, letter to the National Assembly, how much powers does the Vice President really wield as acting President? He
wields powers simply as Vice President. He's not the acting President. We are a country governed by law, and the Constitution is very clear about it. There has to be a letter written to the National Assembly transmitting powers to the Vice President to the extent that the Vice President will now be transformed into an acting President. So we have three personalities here: the President, the Vice President, and another one referred to as an acting President. In this case, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, remains Vice President and he is not acting President. The import is that the President does not believe he has gone on a vacation. He believes wherever he is, he could still work and discharge his functions as President. And he has done that before. On medical trips to London, he has actually signed bills into law. He also signed memos and responded to critical national issues through his Twitter handle. Then he was discharging his duties fully as President. So in this case, the President alone, President Muhammadu Buhari in this case, can determine whether he is going on vacation or is unable to discharge the functions of his office, as stipulated in Section 145. So nothing has gone wrong. The President is going to London to seek medical attention, and at the same time, he wants to work. He's not on vacation. And he in his own mind, he believes very strongly that he can fully discharge the functions of the office. After all, it's just for 2 weeks.
Right, but looking at the words of the president himself, he says, I have capable hands and the Vice President will be acting on my behalf. So you're saying without the backing of the law, thereby by the transmitting of that letter to the National Assembly, these are just mere words?
Well, there's no, they are political statements. The president knows what he said, and we know the politics surrounding the issues of about transmitting powers to the Vice President. That is such a risky affair to do at this time. The recent history has taught the presidency, which has been a new creation, that Professor Yemi Osinbajo can't just be easily trusted with that kind of power in the manner he has used it the number of times that he's been acting president. For example, more especially the way he fired the DSS chief, Lawal Dara, at that time, a president's helmsman, the president's main man. The president wouldn't have done that, but the presidency was was shocked, and till date it became clear that political watchers were correct to say that never would powers be transmitted to the vice president as acting president anymore, and that's what we're witnessing. However, the first alteration of the constitution was predicated on the debacle that Nigeria had when we had a sick president who didn't transmit a letter to the National Assembly before he went on a medical vacation. So we have an amendment to the constitution in the section 2, subsection 2 of section 145. And it says that after 21 days, if the president is out of town, if he hasn't transmitted letter to the National Assembly, transmitting powers to the Vice President, the National Assembly knows what to do, that is the Senate and the House of Representatives, in declaring the Vice President as acting President. Until then, he can now act as acting President. It's important that these distinctions are made. Only the President can do certain things by our Constitution. The Vice President cannot do that. The Vice President can only take the place of the President if and whenever the President, if God forbid the president dies, or he's impeached, or he's declared incapable of carrying out the functions of the office of the president. This is not the scenario. And I think that we shouldn't, create much ado about nothing.
Right. And the last time the president actually handed over to the vice while he was away for medical reasons was actually in 2018. But do you foresee a lacuna, really, while the president is away, owing to the fact that he did not, at least for now, the National Assembly has not confirmed to us that there is a written notice to say that the vice president is in charge? Is there a lacuna?
Well, the legal lacuna hasn't come yet. If there was any, the amendment of the First Amendment would have actually taken care of that. The machinery of government is run from the Federal Secretariat, that is and then we also have the Federal Executive Council, even though mentioned in the Constitution, but the processes of the Federal Executive Council are not expressly mentioned. The Vice President can chair the meetings of the Federal Executive Council for the purpose of treating memos so that the business of government can go on. But when it comes to critical issues of hiring and firing important officers of government, when it comes to taking decisions that affect the direction of government and Nigeria as a whole, I think the Vice President lacks such kind of powers at this time. Business of government can actually go on, even while the President is in London, so long as it stays within the limit of the 2 weeks or less than 21 days. If after that, then we might be talking about lacuna or a crisis.
Oh, so for now, this is much ado about nothing? There's nothing to really worry about?
Certainly not, but it only shows that, we are in an electioneering season and all that. It doesn't really speak well to think that the signals, the right handwriting behind the wall is that the Vice President is not actually trusted. Whereas the way he managed, the powers of the office of the acting president actually endeared him a lot to Nigerians. The Vice President at this time is undecided. There are a lot of uncertainties with regards to whether he wants to run in 2023. The mentor or the political leader of the political father of the Vice President and all that. So you can't at this time be risking such kind of powers into the hands of Professor Yemi Osinbajo from history, political history. So we're seeing more politics of the presidency played out here more than the application of the Constitution.
Well, the Vice President is yet to declare his interest, even though we've seen a lot of groups really tout him to take over from President Muhammadu Buhari. But until that happens, he still remains the Vice President. And according to you, he's not the acting president until a letter is written to the National Assembly.
That's what the law says.
Barrister Frank TieTie, thank you so much for educating us tonight.
My pleasure.